If your car, especially if it's a Nissan, has suddenly decided to start in second or third gear and the check engine light is staring you down, you might be dealing with a transmission pressure issue. Specifically, we are looking at the trouble code P0845, which stands for Transmission Fluid Pressure Sensor or Switch B circuit. I know that sounds like a mouthful of technical jargon, but basically, your car's brain, the PCM or TCM, uses sensors to read the internal hydraulic pressure of your transmission. It needs this data to decide when to shift gears smoothly. When you get this code, the computer is saying that the signal coming from the B circuit of that sensor does not match what it expects to see, or the signal is missing entirely. This puts your car into a safety mode, often called limp mode, to protect the transmission from further damage. It feels sluggish, shifting is rough, and it is definitely not something you want to ignore, because while it is often an electrical issue, it could point to internal mechanical problems too. Now, before you go rushing to buy a new transmission or expensive parts, we need to do some detective work. The most common culprit here, believe it or not, is often just dirty or corroded wiring. This sensor is usually attached to the valve body inside the transmission, but the connector passes through the case. Start by locating the external connector for the transmission harness. You want to pull that connector apart and look really closely at the pins. If you see any green, crusty stuff, that is corrosion, and it kills the signal. Grab some electrical contact cleaner and a plastic brush to clean those terminals out, let them dry, and put some dielectric grease on there. If you have a scan tool, clear the code and see if it comes back. If it does not, you just saved yourself a ton of hassle. But if the code returns, you're going to need a digital multimeter to test the sensor itself. This part gets a bit more technical, but you can do it. You'll need to find a wiring diagram for your specific car to know which pins correspond to the B circuit. With the key on but the engine off, you're going to check for voltage at the sensor connector. Usually, you should see 5 volts or 12 volts, depending on the manufacturer. If you wiggle the wires and that voltage jumps around, you've got a broken wire somewhere. If the voltage is good, you switch your meter to ohms and check the resistance of the sensor itself. If the sensor reads open or has 0 resistance when there's no pressure, the sensor is likely dead and needs to be replaced. Remember, if you do end up replacing the sensor or the control module, many modern cars require a reprogramming procedure to get everything talking correctly again, so keep that in mind. Do not skip the simple checks like checking your transmission fluid level and condition first, because low fluid can sometimes trick the sensors too.